Our reading today is being carried out by David Corbin, who's been associated with the lifeboat for, at least 50 years, if not more, and is now the chairman of the branch, having started as a crew member and served on the crew for a very long time indeed. How many years, David?
35 years on the crew.
It's worth a round of applause, isn't it? David's going to tell you a seafaring tale now.
Right, the lesson is from the Acts of the Apostles. When it was decided that we were to sail for Italy, they transferred Paul and some other prisoners to a centurion of the Augustan cohort named Julius. Embarking on a ship of Aeolus, an area that comprises the west and northwestern regions of modern-day Turkey, that was about to set sail to the ports along the coast of Asia. We put to sea, accompanied with Aristarchus, a Macedonian from Thessalonica, the second largest city in Greece. The next day we put in at Sidon, a city in Lebanon, and Julius treated Paul kindly and allowed him to go to his friends to be cared for. Putting out to sea from there, we sailed under the lee of Cyprus, because the winds were against us. When a moderate south wind began to blow, they thought they could achieve their purpose, so they weighed anchor and began to sail past Crete, close to the shore. But soon a violent wind, called the northeaster, rushed down from Crete. Since the ship was caught and could not be turned with its head to the wind, we gave way to it and were driven by the wind. Fearing that we might run on to rocks, they let down 4 anchors from the stern and prayed for day to come. But when the sailors tried to escape from the ship and had lowered the boat into the sea, on the pretext of putting out anchors from the bow, Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, "Unless these men stay in the ship, you cannot be saved." Just before daybreak, Paul urged all of them to take some food, saying, "Today is the 14th day that you have been in suspense and remaining without food, having eaten nothing. Therefore, I urge you to take some food, for it will help you survive, for none of you will lose a hair from your heads." After he had said this, he took bread, and giving thanks to God in the presence of all, he broke it and began to eat. After we had reached safety, we then learned that the island was called Malta. The natives showed us unusual kindness. Since it had begun to rain and was cold, they kindled a fire and welcomed us all around it. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thank you, David. That's very much a story of the sea, isn't it? It's a travelogue. And it's a familiar travelogue because we added the modern day places names for where they were sailing. And it's a familiar passage for many who are sailing around that now as refugees. They were coming from the Middle East. They were escaping from there. Paul was about to be imprisoned and taken to Rome as a prisoner. And yet it was some distance. They started somewhere along the coast, right at the east end of the Mediterranean, and came way back to Malta. So it was some journey they had, and I don't know whether any of you have been in the Med when a storm has cropped up, but it's quite nasty. The sea is very short and difficult. I was reminded of a story about this lifeboat, well, the Swanage lifeboat, some years ago, which was called out. It was actually called out with the smartest crew you've ever seen, because they were all about to go off to the coxswain's wedding. However, the coxswain's daughter's wedding. Yes, thank you, Dave. Putting me right on that one. Yes, the coxswain was deputised to the second coxswain, and the boat launched and went out into Durlston Bay, where they were carrying out what was a fairly routine, fairly routine rescue. But as this was going on, another boat came up past them, and someone in the stern of the boat waved to the lifeboat as they went by, and they hit the rough water, which is Peveril Ledge on an ebb tide. And someone fell out the back. As they fell from the boat, they grabbed a life jacket, and that life jacket stayed firmly in their hand. Had they not had that life jacket, had the lifeboat not been in the vicinity when they fell from the boat, they would almost certainly have drowned. It was a large man that was pulled from the sea. It took 5 of the crew to get him on board. And even when they had him on board, he wouldn't let go of the life jacket. He held it firm with an absolute grip on it. He was no way he was letting go. He was so traumatized, so frightened, so much did he think he was going to die. He wasn't going to let go of it. And I think that's a pretty good picture of faith, isn't it? It's something we sometimes have to hang on to. It's something that we didn't necessarily think was worth putting on because the sun was shining. But when we got tossed out of the boat and we landed in the sea, then we needed it.